Imagine the basement of an Egyptian palace, deep underground, where the shouting of guards above cannot be heard, where the only light comes from the trembling flames of oil lamps. There is no gold here, no luxury, just clay jars, dried plants, bundles of herbs labeled in an unknown script. And here, regularly, a woman appears in royal robes. She is not praying, she is writing, she is running experiments. This is not a scene from a horror film. This is reality. This is the laboratory of Cleopatra VII, the last queen of Egypt. And this is the biggest secret history has kept from us for 2,000 years. You think you know Cleopatra? The beauty who seduced Caesar and Mark Antony, the woman with the snake, the tragic end of a great romance. But what if I told you that the real Cleopatra was so dangerous that even after her death she forced Rome to change its religion, that she conducted secret medical experiments that modern scientists consider nothing short of genius, and that her only son by Julius Caesar, believed to be dead, may have lived to old age on the other side of the world? Today, we open 3 cases that official history has kept locked away. Let's go. Let's start with a question nobody asks. If Cleopatra was just a beautiful woman who knew how to flirt, how did she hold on to power for 21 years in one of the most dangerous countries of the ancient world? In a country where her own father lost the throne 3 times, where brothers and sisters murdered each other for the right to wear the crown, where Rome grew stronger and hungrier with every passing year. The answer is not in her beauty. The answer is in the basement of that palace. The ancient Greek physician Dioscorides, who lived around the same time, left us something extraordinary. In his work on medical substances, there are references to royal records from the Egyptian court, detailed accounts of how poisons act on the human body, not theoretical, with precise figures, how long before symptoms begin, how the face changes, whether the death could be mistaken for natural illness. Who could have commissioned such research? Who had access to subjects on which to test the results? The answer is obvious: only a ruler. The ancient author Plutarch, gathering first-hand accounts from Cleopatra's contemporaries, writes openly. She tested the effects of various lethal substances on condemned criminals. Not because she was cruel. By the standards of that world, this was considered normal, but because it was her personal security. Cleopatra understood if she didn't poison her rival first, her rival would poison her. But here is what is truly astonishing. She didn't stop at poisons. There is evidence that she wrote her own medical book, a genuine scientific work. The late antique author Galen, the greatest physician of his era, cites Cleopatra as a medical authority. He references her recipes for hair loss, skin conditions, and remedies for strengthening teeth. This is not magic or cosmetics. This is pharmacology. Stop for a moment. The first woman in recorded history whose medical writings were cited 100 years after her death. A head of state developing medicines. A scientist testing hypotheses through experiment. This is not Hollywood. This is a real human being. And now, the most chilling part of this case. We already know that Cleopatra was searching for the perfect way to die, one that would not disfigure her face and leave no signs of struggle. The official story says she found a snake, but any toxicologist will tell you an asp bite is not the right tool for that purpose. It is painful, slow, and leaves very visible marks on the body. Instead, and this is where the detective story begins, ancient Egyptian and Greek medicine had well-documented mixtures based on opium, hemlock, and aconite. The right combination of these substances produces a death that is quiet, quick, and leaves no external trace. That is exactly how Cleopatra's body appeared when the Romans found her. She lay as if alive, face peaceful, clothing undisturbed. She did not wait for someone to bring her a snake. She engineered her own ending, like a scientist, precise, calculated, without panic. But that is only the first case. The second is even more extraordinary. Look at any movie poster about Cleopatra, Elizabeth Taylor, a beauty with enormous almond-shaped eyes, flawless features, a golden headdress. This image is so deeply embedded in our minds that we treat it as historical fact. But there is one source more reliable than any film: coins. Coins were minted during Cleopatra's lifetime under her direct control and distributed across Egypt and the Mediterranean world. On them, the official portrait of the queen. What do we see? A large hooked nose, a strong, prominent chin, thin lips, a gaze that is hard, direct, almost masculine. Nothing in common with the Hollywood beauty, and here is where it gets truly fascinating. Because Cleopatra knew exactly what she looked like, and she made a conscious choice not to hide it, but to turn it into a weapon. Plutarch, the only serious ancient author who described her appearance in detail, writes with great precision, "Her beauty was not of the kind that immediately strikes the eye." But then he adds the sentence that explains everything. The charm of her presence was irresistible. Her voice, like a many-stringed instrument, could pass with ease from one language to another. Do you understand? Not the face, the voice, the language, the intellect. Cleopatra spoke 9 languages fluently: Egyptian, Greek, Latin, Aramaic, Ethiopic, Arabic, Parthian, and several more. She was the first ruler of her dynasty in 300 years to bother learning Egyptian, the language of the very people they governed. Her ancestors spoke to Egyptians through translators for 3 centuries. She spoke to them directly. What did that mean to an ordinary Egyptian? Their king, for the first time in 300 years, speaks to me, in my language, personally, without a middleman. That is not mere affection. That is fanatical devotion. But she went even further. Cleopatra deliberately constructed the image of a goddess. She declared herself the living incarnation of Isis, the most revered goddess in Egypt, the mother, the protector, the one who brings the dead back to life. She appeared in public dressed as Isis. She permitted temples to be built where she was depicted alongside the goddess. And here is the paradox. She was a Greek woman ruling Egypt in the name of an Egyptian goddess, having won the hearts of the Egyptian people. To the Greeks, she was a queen. To the Egyptians, a goddess. To the Romans, a threat. She was simultaneously playing 3 different roles for 3 different audiences. A modern marketer would call this personal branding, but Cleopatra did it without consultants, without social media, with nothing but a razor-sharp mind and cold calculation. His name was Ptolemy Caesar, but everyone knew him as Caesarion, Little Caesar. He was born in 47 BC. His mother, Cleopatra. His father, Julius Caesar. Had he survived, he would have held a claim to the 2 greatest states in the world simultaneously. Octavian Augustus understood this perfectly. On his orders, if the official version is to be believed, Caesarion was found and killed shortly after his mother's death. Octavian reportedly said, "2 Caesars are one too many." But here is what is strange. Nobody saw the body. No record of a burial place, no witness to the execution. He simply disappeared. Several weeks before the fall of Alexandria, when it became clear that Rome would win, Cleopatra sent Caesarion south, officially to a place of safety. With him, a large escort of guards and, according to the accounts, a significant portion of the royal treasury. The route led through Upper Egypt toward the Berber coast and beyond, east. In Indian chronicles from the 1st century AD, there are references to a Greek prince who arrived with a large retinue and gold from the direction of Egypt. He settled at the court of a southern Indian ruler and was granted land and title. This person is described as young, well-educated, speaking Greek, and familiar with Egyptian rituals. Proof? No. But the date The root and the details align too closely to dismiss entirely. And now, one more piece of the puzzle. An Egyptian papyrus discovered in the late 19th century contains fragments of correspondence between Egyptian priests and a certain prince in the East. The correspondence is dated to approximately 30 to 20 BC, precisely the years when Caesarion would have been between 17 and 27 years old. Did he actually survive? We cannot prove it. But ask yourself, if Cleopatra was a scientist, a strategist, a woman who planned everything in advance, could she have sent her son to certain death without attempting to save him? The woman who spent years preparing her own perfect exit, that woman did not send her son away without a plan. Cleopatra lost the battle, but she won eternity. October 30 BC. Octavian Augustus celebrates his victory. Egypt is annexed to Rome. Cleopatra is dead. Mark Antony is dead. The Ptolemaic dynasty is finished. Rome won. Or did it? Look at what happened next. Octavian returns to Rome and begins rebuilding it in marble, copying Alexandria. He takes the title Augustus, the divine. He allows temples to be built in his honor, just as Cleopatra built temples to Isis. He introduces the Egyptian solar calendar. He erects obelisks. The conqueror builds his empire from the blueprints of the conquered, and the common people of Rome. In these very years, ordinary Romans begin converting en masse to the worship of Isis. Egyptian temples spring up across the city, women dressed like Cleopatra. Egyptian fashion sweeps the capital of the empire. The woman Octavian tried to erase became part of his own culture. He thought he had captured Egypt. Instead, Egypt captured him. Every time we check the date on our phone, we are using a calendar she helped create. Every time we see the image of a mother holding a child in any culture around the world, we are seeing an echo of Isis, the goddess with whom she identified herself. Every time a powerful woman in politics uses her image as a weapon, we say that is pure Cleopatra, a scientist who developed medicines and poisons in the basement of her palace, and whose recipes were cited a century after her death, a strategist who created a personal brand before the word existed, a mother who may have saved her son from the most powerful ruler in the world by sending him to the far edge of the known world. Rome believed it had destroyed her, but ideas cannot be killed with a sword. Octavian Augustus built the greatest empire of his time, but he built it from the designs of the woman he defeated, and that perhaps is the greatest revenge in all of human history. Which of the three cases hit you the hardest? The poison laboratory, the real face and the brand that outlived millennia, or the mystery of the vanished sun, the trail that leads all the way to India? Write it in the comments. And if you want us to open the next sealed file on Nefertiti, on Tutankhamun, or on Alexander the Great, hit like. The algorithm will understand. See you in the next investigation.